Hello guys, and welcome to another video. And earlier today, Nintendo showed off a new trailer for Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I've been hoping they would do that soon. And overall, it looks amazing. They showed off like new areas of the game, new features, new things to do, and even co-op, which is really nice. And just overall, this game is really exciting. Like, 'cause it's actually bringing the Kirby series into 3D, obviously, and it seems like it's doing it well, because the gameplay looks really fluid and really nice. It seems like it's translating well into 3D. The worlds all look interesting. They're not really generic at all. Like, I was a little worried that the first 3D Kirby game would just be Kirby 3D, and it would just be like Star Allies, but in 3D, but I'm glad they're not doing that here. They're doing something completely different. They're doing like some kind of apocalyptic world. Like, I know they showed that in the first trailer, but I think they kind of expanded upon that in this trailer too. Like, they showed off like this desert area with like sand over everything, like the overgrown city that we've seen, and it looks really nice. I really like how it looks, and there's like new enemies, and there's also a hub world, like, which is called Waddle Dee Town, and I think the story behind this game is definitely gonna center around the Waddle Dees being captured, because you could get the different caged Waddle Dees and free them, and I think that's pretty cool. Like, there's probably gonna be a lot of story behind that, like with the Waddle Dees and everything, and why they're being captured. So I think that's interesting, and we'll just have to see when the game comes out. But overall, like, a lot of the things that they're adding in this game look really nice, and I'm so glad that the Kirby series is going in this direction, and it was the proper next step. I don't know why they did Star Allies before they did a game like this, but I guess it's better late than never. About 25 years late, because a lot of people have been waiting for a 3D Kirby game ever since, like, the Nintendo 64, because Kirby 64, even though it's 2.5D and has like a 3D visuals and a 3D background and everything, it still doesn't play in 3D. Like, there's a lot of exceptions to the rule of being the first 3D Kirby game. Like, I mean, technically, when looking at it, Forgotten Land technically isn't the first 3D Kirby game, like when you look at Blowout Blast, the final boss of Kirby Star Allies. And there's also some other examples too, Kirby Air Ride, but just looking at its core, it's the first Kirby 3D platformer. And this is really big. And I really hope they continue in this direction too, because I hope they just don't revert back to 2D after this. I mean, most of the time, they don't do that. If, like, we're looking at Nintendo, most of the time Nintendo just sticks to 3D games and makes the 2D games, like, not really a priority anymore, which will probably be the case if this game ends up doing well, which I'm really hopeful for. And it looks really nice, like I said before, and there's also some interesting things in the Waddle Dee Town that I mentioned earlier. Like the other Kirby games, they're also going to have mini-games, and I feel like the mini-games are actually kind of tied into the game, which I kind of find interesting. Like, they have, like, different places around the hub world, and the hub world almost seems to be kind of like replicating the hub worlds from Mario games, kind of like Delfino Plaza. So I guess that's the most comparable one, but basically, even though it's not like really exactly like that, because there is like a warp star you use to kind of connect to the different levels, like it's kind of more of like a Odyssey, Galaxy 2 kind of style selection where you go into the different levels, but a little more nicer and more stylized, because you're kind of riding around on it, which is pretty cool. But I feel like the hub world will kind of function a little bit like Delfino Plaza, because of how you can access the levels and then other features from there. So I think that's really nice that they have like a lot of things there, and that's probably where you're just gonna go through the majority of the game, like go through the levels and then go back to Waddle Dee Town, probably for some important events and everything. I even noticed Kirby's house on there too, which is pretty cool. But overall, it looks really nice. The new copy abilities are also really nice too. Like, they have the Kirby with a gun with the Ranger ability. I thought that was pretty funny. It's kind of spreading around on Twitter. It's kind of like a trend and a meme on Twitter with Kirby with a gun. And I mean, if you do anything like that with Kirby, it's obviously going to be a meme. But there's also the Drill Kirby, which is pretty cool too. Basically kind of drill through the ground, and I think that's pretty nice. There's also going to be a lot of returning ones too, which will probably have slightly different functions, or control a little differently than older Kirby games. Because of 3D and everything, it obviously changes. Like, I mean, obviously they're going to be pretty similar. Like, bomb, you just throw a bomb, but in 3D, it will kind of change up the mechanics and some of the physics of some of these abilities, so it's almost like you're getting a lot of new abilities, because they're going to control, like, a lot of them they're probably going to control completely differently. And they also revealed some new characters, too, from, like, bosses, and then they also revealed this new character called, Eleflin, which is, like, this little creature that follows you. And I think it's pretty cute. It's like a little thing, and kind of like the thing, like Navi from Ocarina of Time, or like the different things that follow you in Paper Mario, like Tippy, Olivia, Huey, like characters like that. And I kind of like those characters sometimes. Sometimes it can be pretty annoying, like as with Zelda specifically. A lot of those companions can be pretty annoying, but I hope this character isn't too annoying. I mean, it's a 3D platformer, so you're probably not going to rely on something like that too much. But overall, it looks really nice, and I also wanted to touch on the aspect that it's a 3D platformer, because I'm so glad that Nintendo is going to have another 3D platformer series. I feel like 3D Mario really isn't enough. I mean, 3D Mario is amazing. Like, Super Mario Odyssey is my favorite game of all time, and there's really no bad 3D Mario game. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that 3D Mario really shouldn't be the only 3D platformer that Nintendo is putting out. And I'm so glad that Kirby is actually making the jump to 3D so we can have more 3D platformers, and I feel like 3D platformers in general are slowly starting to come back, because obviously Mario Odyssey functioned more like the open sandbox kind of 3D platformers like Banjo-Kazooie, Mario 64, games like that, and then also Crash 4 came back, and then there's also other games like Hat in Time, Yooka-Laylee, like indie games that are actually 3D platformers, and then we have the SpongeBob games too, like there's a new SpongeBob game, and then they remastered Battle for Bikini Bottom, and there's probably a lot of other 3D platformers that I haven't mentioned, but Kirby is just adding to that. It's another high-quality 3D platformer, and I'm glad that they're kind of doing another one, like, they're actually kind of doing another Kirby game on the Switch, but they're actually doing something completely different to make it different from Star Allies. I feel like they really wouldn't have gotten... Like, I feel like another 2D Mario game, or another 2D Kirby game, really wouldn't have gotten that well of a reception. It probably wouldn't be that well received because of how Star Allies was. So I feel like this was definitely the next proper step for the Kirby series, and I definitely think it probably will be the pinnacle of the series from what I've seen so far. I'm really hopeful about it. And yeah, I think that's why they called it like the pinnacle of the series, like before they announced Kirby in the Forgotten Land, like a couple years ago when they said the next Kirby game will be the pinnacle of the series. So yeah, I'm really excited about this game, and probably the most I've ever been for a Kirby game. So anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Twitter if you want to. Goodbye.